Before I say what I'm about to say about Stephen A. Smith, please know this. He has been more of a brother to me than my actual brother ever was to me. I love the man. And no matter what happens from this point forward, I will always love the man. But brothers do fight. We definitely have fought before, have we? And maybe we're about to fight again. All I know for sure at this point in time is that Stephen A. Smith made some statements on JJ Redick's podcast last week that flat out blindsided me, that stung me to the core, that ultimately made me angry and made my wife Ernestine even angrier. And she knows Stephen A. very well, maybe even better than I do in some ways. But Stephen A. made some statements on JJ Redick's podcast that made several people I worked with at ESPN pre-Stephen A., well, I'm not going to say it made them angry. They were just stunned at how so wrong what Stephen A. said was. Here's the guts of what Stephen A. said on the podcast. And I quote, Skip Bayless was doing his thing with First Take, having the two live stews, that's Ryan and Doug Stewart, Jamel Hill, Rob Parker, and various other people debating against him. And then in 2012, they weren't satisfied with the numbers, the ratings, and the amount of revenue that was being generated. Skip Bayless, said Stephen A., comes to me in the parking lot of ESPN's campus in Bristol, Connecticut, and he says, I know you've got your plans. You love the NBA. You love being out on the road. You love being in the locker room, but I need you. I've done all that I could to take this as far as it can go. I need you, please. Just give me 3 years. I think we can knock it out of the park, said Stephen A. on the Redick podcast. Then he continued, I thought about it. Those were clearly my best options. They weren't about to give me my own show or anything like that at the time. I thought about it for a couple of days and I said I'd do it. 1 month later, we were number one, and we've been number one ever since, said my brother Stephen A. Smith on the Redick podcast. Let me gather myself. What? I cannot tell you how wrong that was. It was so recklessly inaccurate. It was such shocking fabrication. And my first thought when Ernestine sent this to me to peruse, I thought, how could my brother Stephen A. turn on me like that? On me? Seriously? Stephen A. was suggesting that he saved and then made First Take. How can you save and make a show that was already as big a 1 billion to 1 success story as ESPN had ever seen? The ratings and the revenues were impossibly great when Stephen A. joined me in 2012. With Stephen A. as my partner, First Take would never touch the NFL Monday ratings that it hit in 2011, pre-Stephen A. And I had taken First Take as far as I could? Seriously? I was just getting started. The rocket had just launched the year before in 2011. Stephen A., how dare you? So look, if Stephen A. had just blurted out what he blurted on that podcast and it had come and it had gone, maybe I wouldn't have chosen to fire back on my podcast. But fortunately or unfortunately, the New York Post wrote an entire story about those remarks. Then it seemed like every website from here in LA to New York picked up or reacted to the Post story. And suddenly I was in danger of this fiction becoming fact. If left unopposed by me, this outrageously revisionist history just might have morphed into bona fide history, and maybe it still will. Maybe it still will become part of that public domain, and in the future, I don't know, maybe every time someone goes to write about the all-time amazing success story, the against all odds rise of First Take, they will accept as gospel that Stephen A. saved and made First Take. But trust me, that is utter untruth. To use one of Stephen A.'s favorite words, that is just blasphemy. I hope you enjoyed that video. You ready for more? Make sure you click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from the Skip Bayless Show. And don't forget to check out the full episode of the show wherever you get your podcasts by clicking the link in the description.